Today we're going to be doing something pretty cool. As anyone that watches the channel would know, I have a commercial fire alarm system installed in this garage, right here. And I also have my own backup generator that I constructed myself because there weren't any store-bought solutions that fit what I needed for this installation. And with doing my own automatic generator setup like this one, that gave me all the flexibility to make it exactly how I wanted. And since we have a fire alarm system in this garage building here, and especially being a completely automatic system, I thought it would probably also be a good idea to have fire detection in this building, which that's something that was tested recently in one of my videos. We tested how the smoke detector in this building would perform when the generator was running. The concern being that when the generator's running and the damper's open on the other side and this big exhaust fan running, that the smoke would be sucked out of the building before it had a chance to set off the detector. And well, it turns out that's not the case at all. It actually still set off this detector quite quick, whether the generator was running or the generator wasn't. And even if that wasn't the case, we actually have two types of detection in this building. We have our photoelectric smoke detector, and we also have a heat detector. Now, regardless of which type of detection ended up initiating the system, a lot of people thought it would be a good idea if the generator was to shut down when the fire alarm system was set off. And I agree. I think that would be super good if the generator was to automatically shut down as soon as the fire alarm system was triggered, so that if this generator was to either become on fire or start a fire in that building, it would be shut down. So if there's any chance of mitigating some risk of it, hopefully that would do so. At the very least, it wouldn't keep running, adding to the problem. As most of you would know, there is more than one device on this fire alarm system. In fact, there's many different devices and many different types of devices. There's, of course, multiple pull stations. There's also smoke detectors, heat detectors, modules that monitor things such as sprinkler flow, which could be triggered by any one of the many sprinkler heads in the building, and even points monitoring completely separate buildings, like that tower and that shed over here. So where I'm going with this is there's multiple triggers that could set off this fire alarm system, and not all of those are necessary to shut this generator down. In fact, only really two of them are even specific to this building. The rest of them have nothing to do with this building, therefore whatever's going on in there isn't really a concern whether the generator's running or not. So even though you could, and it would actually make programming more simple, there's no need to have all those devices shutting down the generator. Because of that, we're only going to make the two devices in here be responsible for shutting it down. Though that does mean we have to do a little bit more programming, that also means that there isn't the inconvenience and possibly annoyance of the generator being unnecessarily shut down, especially in the middle of a power outage, should something happen with another building that's got nothing to do with this. Long story short, only these two devices in here will shut the generator down should they activate. As far as our generator building temperature monitor, that also will not shut the generator down, as it's not a life safety concern. These will trigger from time to time if the temperature gets too high or too low and isn't an immediate risk. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to do this, get the material we need, and explain how this is going to work. We really only need one part, and the rest of this is all just thinking about how to do this correctly. That one part we need is a relay module. That will be a relay that we can program to do whatever we want, and it will run off the system's SLC loop, and you can program it to only activate on certain conditions, and they're very versatile. Now, of course, this is a Firelight system, so you should have a Firelight device on it. However, I do not have any Firelight relay modules, so I'm going to have to use a Notifier one, and for this 9200 panel, it running Lightspeed, it should run a flash scan Notifier relay module just fine. However, I still could get a Firelight one. I'm just on the fence right now if I want to spend the $60 on that right now, or if that isn't an issue. We'll see what I feel like doing with that. Let me know what you guys think. So I've got this one right here. This one is a off-white, more of an eggshell white, which I'm not a fan of this color. I like the bright white plates better. So because this one's going to be in a generator building where no one will see it, I say we use this one in here. And as you can see, this is a notifier relay module. You can see that you've got two sets of contacts which can be normally open or normally closed configured. FRM-1 relay module, I believe. The Firelight one is something 300. That's all I know. That's also going to need to go on a 4x4 device box. This right here will work. Looks like it's been used before, but that's okay. We'll reuse it. So our next step here is we need to figure out a location to install our box and device. So to make that easier, we're going to disconnect and take the generator out of here. So we've got a little bit of stuff that we have to disconnect from the generator. Firstly, we'll disconnect the power feeding the main building, which is that main twist lock right there. Luckily our power didn't go out this time while removing it from breaking the neutral as it did last time if you saw that video. Next we can disconnect all of the things that the generator powers, but one of those is what tells us when it's running. So we'll actually want to disconnect our generator module first. So we'll first disconnect it from power, positive and negative from battery. We'll then disconnect the three different wires that control the two relays in the generator for start and shutdown. Then our choke actuator can disconnect, and this whole thing can move out of the way. Not before this first, actually, is our power that tells it once the generator has started and is running. Then our power that runs another relay and a light, and we can unplug this block heater that is plugged in over there. Wrap this up, and our battery charger can come off, and now the generator can pull out. Firstly, take this lamp out that keeps the building warm before I break it like I did before. Okay, now we got nice and empty in here so we can see exactly where we're going to want to mount this. So our SLC comes inside from outside in this conduit here before it goes up and into our smoke detector and then continues over to our heat detector. But you can see it also branches off right here where it goes down to this module. This is a dual monitor module which has two conventional outputs monitoring the high temperature and low temperature. But what's important to us is that there's SLC here, because I don't want to put our new device anywhere up on the ceiling. I want it to be down on the wall closer to where our module is and where we can tie into the generator. So if it could be here, that would be great. Obviously we've got a big space of wall here that can't be blocked where our air intake is. However, there is room here and here, and because this is piped in, we can quite easily bring two more conductors off of this module through this conduit feeding our new box and new device. Okay, so we're going to pop off these devices so we can get access in here. Take the cover off of these two just by pulling it off. Try not to change the temperature any because it's at a good spot currently. We do have to be somewhat careful because these do have end-of-line resistors in here, which are somewhat delicate. As you can see, we don't want to break those off. We also don't want to set this off as it will give the fire alarm system a supervisory. But that right there is enough access. That's all we need. We'll pop the cover and this module off too, since we will be needing access into here. What I've got here is, obviously we've got this box here, and our new box, I think I want to put it right here. So we can't really get it any closer than here because of the edge of this, which I suppose I could just chop it off. But I'm not going to get much closer anyways, because of all I've got is 2 connectors and as short as a piece of conduit as I can go. And obviously close nipple would be ideal, but I don't have one, so you get what you get. And I gotta get rid of this one because I hate connectors that don't match. Okay, that is as close as you were gonna get. That's not going to work. If we take this down temporarily. Oh, we're so close. We're just going to force it. It'll go. Haha. So now we need to get SLC from here over to this box. So I've got a small piece of 5 wire here, more than enough to go through. The ground's been cut short, but it's fine. This is in conduit, so we don't even need a ground. So I'm going to cut this a little shorter, make it a little easier to get through this pipe. Okay, so that's enough there. We can cut off this other end where we need it to end. So that right there is good. Now we're going to splice this together here and get this tied in. That way we don't have to deal with that anymore. So firstly, we'll do this end here, which we're going to get this prepared here for our new device. And we're going to go ahead and wire this in. That way we can tie in the other side of the SLC and it won't show an open. So on this system out here, our colors are backwards. You can see here we've got brown and black as negative. It should be blue and black as negative, but to keep things easy out here, we're going to continue it that way, because as long as you know it's backwards and it's backwards equally this whole way, then that's fine. So we need to be on terminal 1 right here. That is SLC negative. So we'll bring these in and our blue and red up here into the SLC positive. Okay, and that's all we need for now over on that end. Now over on this end here, strip this back. And the ground, we don't need it. Okay, so now we have SLC in and out. So our red and black, will make that our SLC in. It doesn't matter on this, and our blue and brown will be the SLC out. So from this device here, our black and red are SLC in. So then we'll make the red and black going to our new relay module, the SLC going towards it, and the blue and brown will be the SLC coming off from it, which will tie in to the old SLC. So we'll get all of these stripped right here, ready to go. And this brown will come out. That will get replaced with the black going to our new device. The system will go into trouble. Eventually you'll hear that. that's just showing an SLC open. We haven't actually lost any devices because it's Class A. That's the benefit to it. The blue will come out of there, and the red will go into here. And now this blue and brown, basically what comes from our new device, what comes back from it, will go back to the rest of the fire alarm loop, so these just need to tie together. Okay, so our blues will just splice together now. And that will be the same with the brown. And now our SLC will be closed again, but I don't think these troubles are tracking. I think it's a latching trouble for an SLC open, like it will stay in trouble until you reset the system. So we're all done with that, so these can all tuck back into the box here. There you can see that SLC open, so we'll reset that. That will shut up eventually. And we can also put this all back together, as this is all we need out at this point. Okay, so now is what we need to do is actually figure out how we tie into this generator controller to stop the generator should the fire alarm go off. We need to figure out if we need to be a normally open or normally closed circuit, and where we need to tie in and what we need to tie in to. It would probably be easier to understand all what's going on if you had seen the video on the generator controller install, but if you haven't, well, that's still fine. Basically, for this generator, inside of here we have two different relays. One of them is basically tied into that start button, and one is tied into that stop button. These are the wires that are responsible for those two relays. They both share a common positive, and it's their negative that is switched to trigger that relay. So basically we're going to need to be giving that relay its negative to shut it down, as it always has its positive, and the relays are in their normal position without power, and we need to give them power to switch, and they always have that positive, but we have to give them their negative. So we have to figure out which negative is for which relay to know which negative we need to be giving where. I don't know if that made any sense. I do have some schematics for it, and we do have the controller in here, which we will open to get a look at it, except I can't move it because the tools are on top of it. So let's open this up and see what's in here. Okay, so as you can see, there is plenty going on here, so we need to figure out what exactly we're concerned with. So looking at this diagram here, we already know we are concerned with the stop relay, and we know it always has its positive, which you can see there. So we know our negative is what we're concerned with. It's our negative that we need to be giving it during a fire alarm event. So that is going to terminal 3 on here. So we have line 1, neutral, 1, 2, 3. So it's that terminal right there. Okay, this could be a little difficult to show you, but we're going to have to bring in this fire alarm BX. And one side is going to tie into our negative for everything, which will be one of these wires over here. And the other is going to tie into this stop switch, which is this particular wire right here. So we're going to cut that wire. Strip that side of it. Strip this side of it, and then those are going to still be tied together because we're just tapping into this wire. Install this guy over top, and I'm going to crimp it down here. I'll get in there better later, but for now we'll just crimp it like with this. And then the other side of it, since I don't think you should have a solid wire in that, and this isn't the way I'd like to do this, I just don't have any other connectors right now, so I'm doing this with what I got. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So that will make the other side of that guy. Okay, so that's that tied together. So that's our negative going to the generator. And now we also actually need to tie in to our main negative coming from the battery, which is this guy here, which I believe this one's already been tied into once before. Yes, it has. So I may just try and split this guy open here and add on to it. Well, it didn't go the way I wanted, but that's okay. Okay, so we've got that. This is our other side here now. Okay, so the two of these are what needs to tie in to our fire alarm relay. And these will be a normally open, that when the fire alarm relay closes, that will shut the generator down. Keep in mind, to shut the generator down regardless, it can always be shut down through this module. This is just another relay that can close it to shut the generator down. But we need our fire alarm cable to enter into this box. So we need to drill another hole in the box so we can actually get the fire alarm cable in here. So I'm going to turn this one sideways. And drill a hole for a second one right here. And we'll put a BX connector on there. And now this fire alarm cable, this is a bit of a mess. We're going to enter this into the box right here. This doesn't have an anti-short on it, and it doesn't need one because it's got this second sheathing being this red stuff here. So we're just going to strip this back. I know it has a ripcord, but I don't like it. We don't need this ground, so all of this can get cut off. This can enter into our box here. And tighten this guy down here. Now that same fire alarm BX also needs to go into our fire alarm box where our module will be installed. So we'll bring that in right here. And put another connector on. And the other end, break off a little bit of the BX here. That was weird. Half of it's not in there as much as I was expecting. It's a little short. I was expecting that to be longer, not gonna lie. But, yeah, that's too short. I don't like that. Okay, I replaced that piece of BX with a longer one. Now, I'm going to put one strap on it just below its box here, within the 300 mil that it's supposed to be. What we can do is tie this into where it needs to be on the module. So here we have this goofy one where we got one terminal unused and one that's the normally open. That's the second side of this common and normally closed contact. I'm going to use the top contact because that one's just goofy. So is what we need to do. Strip this guy here. And we will be on common terminal. And the normally open contact. We want it to be normally open and just close when it's in its alarm condition. Okay, and that's that. And if you're looking at this and saying, oh, it looks like that's cracked, it appears it is. So I will just stick a bigger washer on there, and that should solve that. Okay, now this needs to tie in down here, which this is quite simple. It just needs to tie into both of these. So we just need to strip these two, strip that guy, strip that guy, strip this one, and strip this one, and then one will go to each of these. So we'll take the red, splice this to one side. And take the black and splice this to the other side. And I'm going to tape these up because this will be vibrating around with the generator. So I'd rather have it a little more secure. Okay, now these will just tuck down in here. And that should be all good in here. We should be able to put the cover back on this guy as well. Finishing touches in here now. At this point, I just moved this over by like 1/4 of the inch, so hopefully the door will still close fine. It might be tight. If that is a problem, we can remove some of the insulation on the door. Never use an impact to put these on because one little bit too tight and you will crack the porcelain. But I don't like those plastic ones because, well, they're just crap. And I thought this was going to work, and it will once we get it slipped behind there, apparently. It's close, but it does in fact work. Now, you know what? We don't want that. We're going to need to set the address still. I forgot about that. Oh, we crashed. This thing's a little bit heavy. 220 pounds or so, I think. There we go. Can't get too much of a run at it because the ramp's almost too skinny. And we line the exhaust up with our pipe going to outside. Okay, now we'll plug everything back in here. Firstly, block heater, plug back in, battery charger. Start with our ground on here, and our positive. I think that's how we had that before. This needs to plug in. This needs to plug in. Our generator module here. This needs to plug in. Then the choke actuator here. Here, like we can now plug the building back in. And our heating lamp. And now this is where stuff starts to get fun. It's time to program this into the fire alarm system and test it. However, I can tell this video is probably getting pretty long, and things could go wrong with this next part, which could make the video longer if this requires troubleshooting. So I don't know how long that's going to be. So I think I'm going to end this one here. This will be the actual physical installation, and the next video will be programming, testing, and hopefully not, but potentially troubleshooting. That's going to be it for this one. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you do have any comments or questions, feel free to leave those down in the comment section down below. And if you do enjoy the channel, make sure to subscribe. Also, if you are interested, I do have an Instagram account at Pickle700 for bonus content, stuff posted earlier than you'd see it on the YouTube channel, that sort of thing. Alright, thanks for watching.